Hi there, my name is Jason Perkins, and I want to welcome you to another episode in my Georgia Workers' Compensation video series. I'm an attorney who specializes in Georgia workers' compensation cases. I created this series of videos because I wanted to provide people who've been injured at work with helpful information about Georgia's workers' compensation law and the benefits available to them under that. Today I want to talk about something that happens at the end of your workers' compensation case, which is settlement of your workers' compensation case. Now, before we get into talking about today's topic, which is settlement of hip injuries, I want to talk specifically about, or more generally about, settlement. There's a few important things to understand about settlement of any workers' compensation case. And the first is that settlement is not an entitlement. There's no certain amount you're entitled to because you suffered a certain type of hip injury at work. There's no way to force the insurance company to settle your case. Settlement's a voluntary agreement between you and the insurance company, where the insurance company agrees to pay you a certain amount of money, and in exchange you agree to give up your workers' compensation case. And that leads to the second thing that's important to understand about settlement, and that is that you never have to settle your workers' compensation case. You have every right just to leave your case open and never settle if that's what you choose. Now, third thing that's important to understand about settlement is that usually it's best to wait until you've reached maximum medical improvement, or at least a point where you understand your injury very well, because when you're making a decision about settling your case, you're going to be trying to predict the future. What's going to happen? What workers' compensation benefits would you receive in the future if your case stayed open? What medical treatment would you need? Those sorts of things. And that's because the fourth thing about settlement, which is settlement is final. Once you settle your case and it's approved by a workers' compensation judge, you can't go back and change that settlement later. And the insurance company is going to want to settle your case for as little as possible. That's going to be their goal. So you want to be sure and have the information you can to make a good decision about settlement. Now let's talk about some of the specifics that apply to settlement of a workers' compensation hip injury and some of the things that you may want to be thinking about. One of the things that you want to be considering is your future medical treatment. You've had some medical treatment in your case probably if you're considering settlement, but you may need more medical treatment in the future. Maybe your hip's not completely better. So you need to think about what sort of treatment are you going to need down the road. Is your doctor talking about you're needing additional surgery? Are you going to need a hip replacement at some point? Are you going to need injections, physical therapy, x-rays, MRIs, medications? You want to be thinking about all those things when you're making a decision about settlement. Second thing that you want to be thinking about is return to work issues. Are you back at work at this point, or are you still out of work and receiving workers' compensation benefits? If you're settling your workers' compensation case, one of the terms of settlement is often going to be you agreeing to resign from working with your current employer, the employer you got hurt with, and also agreeing not to reapply with that employer in the future. Now, that's not necessarily a requirement of settlement, but in 98% of cases, the insurance company wants you to agree to resign and not reapply with the employer where you got injured. Now, so you're going to need to think about, if you're having to do that, are you going to be able to go back to work somewhere else? If you're still having problems from your hip injury, that can affect a lot of things when it comes to returning to work. Hip injury can make it difficult for you to sit for long periods of time, to stand for long periods of time, to walk a lot, to squat, to kneel, those sorts of things. So if you're going to be looking at going back to a job that requires you to do a lot of activity, or a lot of squatting, kneeling, a lot of walking, you may find it difficult to do with a hip injury, and something you need to be thinking about. Third thing to think about is whether your hip injury may qualify for a catastrophic designation. If you're still having really severe problems with your hip after medical treatment, and you're not going to be able to return to any sort of work, then you may very well qualify for a catastrophic designation. The reason you want to consider that is because there's a big difference in what sort of workers' compensation benefits you may be eligible for in the future if your case is designated catastrophic versus not being designated catastrophic. And these are just some of the issues that you want to think about when you're considering settlement of the hip injury case. There's a lot of others as well. One of the things that I would always encourage someone to do if they're considering settlement of a serious hip injury case is to reach out and talk with a workers' compensation attorney. Doesn't mean that you need to hire that attorney. It just means that you need to discuss some of the issues, like whether it is a good time to settle your case, some of the things that you should consider with settlement, and whether it might make sense for you to hire the attorney to help you out with settlement of your case. I hope you found this information about workers' compensation settlements for hip injuries helpful. If you have, please let me know that. One of the best ways you can do that is by liking this video or giving it a thumbs up. If you've got more questions about your workers' compensation case, I'd encourage you to reach out and get answers. There's a few good ways that you can do that. One is by visiting our Perkins Studdard Workers' Compensation channel on YouTube. You can view all the videos from the Georgia Workers' Compensation video series there. You can also visit our website where you can complete and submit a request for a free consultation with me or one of our other workers' compensation attorneys. That's a great way to get some of the specific questions about your workers' compensation case answered. Or you can read the articles on our Perkins Law Talk Workers' Compensation blog. We discuss all sorts of workers' compensation issues on there as well. If you'd just like to reach out to us directly and set up a free consultation or ask some of your questions, you can call the phone number at the bottom of the screen, and one of the members of our workers' compensation team will be happy to speak with you and try to answer your questions or get a free consultation set up with me. I'd like to thank you again for watching this video today, and I want to wish you the best of luck as you recover from your injury.